Thank you, Patty. Good afternoon, and thank you for coming. I am going to let my colleagues on either side of me introduce themselves and spell the names if they have to, and before we proceed.
Ladies first.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Cam Towns. I am the Special Prosecutor for the Fair Michigan Justice Project.
Spell your first name.
My first name is Cam, K-A-M, and my last name is Towns, T-O-W-N-S.
Hi, I'm First Lieutenant Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, Shaw, S-H-A-W. I'm the Public Information Officer for the 2nd District of the Michigan State Police.
One of the main reasons why I wanted to help start a unit that focused on crimes against the LGBT community was because of cases like this. In fact, exactly because of cases like this. In 2016, I approached now Attorney General Dana Nessel, who had the idea after I talked to her to form the Fair Michigan Justice Project. And back in 2016, I was concerned and actually lost sleep because in the Highland Park section of Detroit, there were many unsolved murders of trans women of color. No one seemed to care at all. I mean, no one. Nothing was really being done. No one was really investigating, and their lives seemed to matter to no one. And out of that, as I said, the Fair Michigan Justice Project was born by Attorney General Dana Nessel. The thing about my job is that I represent all of the people of the state of Michigan, all of them, regardless of color, regardless of race, national or ethnic origin, sex, age, gender expression or identity, religion, marital status, sexual orientation, or economic status or disability. Represent everybody in Wayne County. Today we announce, this afternoon, charges against Carlos Lamar Scotland in connection with the fatal shooting of Asia Davis. Asia Davis was one of those not one of those cases back then, but one of those transgender women of color whose cases at the time were not being paid attention to at all. And she was murdered tragically and coincidentally on the first day of Pride Month, June 1st of 2023. She was beloved in her community, and she was known to be generous and a compassionate person, according to her family and many, many friends. It is alleged that the defendant shot and killed her. At the time of her death, she had recently completed nursing school and was going to start a new job when her life was tragically cut short. On June 1st, the date that I mentioned earlier, at approximately 11 p.m., Highland Park police officers were dispatched to the hotel at 16300 in the 16300 block of Woodward Avenue for a reported shooting, and upon their arrival, they located her inside of a hotel room, deceased, with a gunshot wound to her head. We are alleging today that the defendant Scotland fired a handgun, fatally wounding Ms. Davis before fleeing the scene. After an extensive, and I mean extensive and comprehensive investigation by the Michigan State Police, this led to the arrest of the defendant just this week, March 12th of 2024. More specific facts will be introduced into evidence at the preliminary examination. Let me further say that Carlos Lamar Scotland is 18 years old. He has been charged with the following offenses: first-degree murder, felony firearm, carrying a concealed weapon, and resisting and obstructing a police officer. The defendant, of course, is presumed innocent unless or until proven guilty. He was arraigned earlier today by Highland Park District Court Judge Bridget Officer Holly. The probable cause conference is scheduled for March the 26th of this year. I'll take any questions you may have at this time.
I think at the time you had maybe a picture or a video, not much to go on. I think maybe it was a blue sweatshirt or something. Were you able to get tips that helped with this, or how? I know you can't get into all the details of the investigation, but was the public helpful at all in?
I'll let you answer the question.
So we did receive some few tips.
Sure.
Yep. We did receive a few tips here and there, but quite honestly, this was the work of our Special Investigation Section. Detective Sergeant James Plummer, he put this case together from scratch. This was a real whodunit when it first started. I mean, it really, really was. And it was through their extensive work that they were able to do that. We got a couple of tips here and there, But this was solved by the hard work of the men and women of that special investigation section. And I just want to echo the prosecutor. We're trying to build a Michigan where everyone feels safe and secure, and it doesn't matter anything about you. We just want you to be feeling safe in the state of Michigan, and that's what we're trying to do here today.
Can you speak to motive at all, or if these two knew each other, or if this was random?
We won't speak to anything like that. Anything specific about this case other than what I mentioned will come out in court.
Cam, is this, you joined the Fair Michigan within the last couple of years, and is this the first one that you've had, first murder that you've had since coming on board, or have there been others?
No, I charged the Deontay Close case, and that has been in the press as well. So no, this is not the first murder case I've charged in my role as a special prosecutor for the Fair Michigan Justice Project.
When you see this happen yet again, knowing that the prosecutor Worthy and Dana Nessel, got together on this several years ago.
Mhm.
I mean, we've been covering it, these as they've happened too. And having, come into this within the last couple of years after doing homicide here for so many years,
Mhm.
It must just be alarming that these continue to happen, and you always have to wonder, is there some kind of element of hate, that goes into a crime like this?
Well, I absolutely think that there's a very big atmosphere of hate for the LGBTQ community, and that's something that was a focus of Fair Michigan being started to begin with. So not only charging, but it's also important because we go into the community and work with law enforcement and do cultural competency training. So in many ways, I think that the boots on the ground have a huge impact on combating hate and reaching out to the LGBTQ community for them to feel seen and heard and cooperate in these kind of cases. So Fair Michigan is a really important mission, and it's done really well so far, and I'm very proud to be part of it.
Kim, I know you just told me you can't comment, but I'm going to ask it anyway in regard to, was there an element of hate in this that you can at least talk about, or nothing means nothing as far as talking about?
Well, again, specifically, I'm not going to mention any details. I think we don't want to in any way at all, and I know you don't want to either, jeopardize the case going forward. So we're not going to put out motives or anything like that, or whether they knew each other. That will all come out in any court proceedings that occur after this.
You talked about Fair Michigan and the cases that many ignored for years here. Today, how would you depict cases against trans individuals in Detroit, whether they've been on the rise, whether they've been just steady for many years and we've just never really focused or heard about them? I mean,
I think all that is true, but I would like to think that here in Wayne County, at least the trans community here, and the wonderful trans advocate, Jaleesa Abad, that we have working in that community and also living in that community, it has done something to give encouragement that we stand behind them, that we will take their cases seriously, that it doesn't matter to us anything about you, and that in terms of we're going to treat everybody the same and give them the same attention that they deserve and they should have had all this time. The reason why, and one of the reasons why, not just the 6 murdered trans women of color that were murdered in Palmer Park years ago, around 2016, that people were ignoring, but because of the whole LGBTQ community. And we hope that we've given them some solace in the fact that we support them and we will take their crime seriously as well. And we think we do have some modicum of support, and we think we do have modicum of trust as well. Much more can be done. Like you said, these things continue to happen, and they will probably continue to happen after this, but we're going to do whatever we can. And when Cam prosecutes the case and gets a just result, we hope that will send another message to everyone that we're serious about prosecuting these cases.
Cam, would you mind addressing that question as well? I'm not looking for statistics necessarily, but as a layperson, I have no idea what the proliferation of these crimes are, whether they've gotten worse in the recent years, or what you would say about the environment.
So I can't really say whether they got.
Over to the right, please.
I keep trying to stay out of frame, to be honest. Having worked in this office for 30 years before I took this job, I have a general sense of, homicide rates in general, but specifically to the LGBTQ community, I can't really address that. I will say this, I feel like people are more brazen. They don't hide in the shadows as much as they used to when they go after members of the LGBTQ community. So I can say I've seen that as a change, that they feel more emboldened and more empowered to just act out in a way that they normally wouldn't. So I see that. But as far as a historical analysis of members of the LGBTQ community being homicide victims, I don't know that at my fingertips. But again, I just feel like there's more of a target on their back. and people are responding to that in negative ways.
And I think all we have to do is look and see what's happening across this country to this community. And again, here, we're going to take you seriously. And here, we're going to prosecute if we can prove the case beyond reasonable doubt.
Just the fact that he's only 18 years old, that's so troubling, you know, and I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
It's troubling on many levels. It's troubling when we have youth crime, period. For people that are so young that commit violent crime, it's all troubling. It doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon, but again, we can only do what we can do when we can prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And because of the efforts of the Michigan State Police here, they literally take this case from almost nothing and develop it into a case that we know that we can prove in court beyond a reasonable doubt.
For a point of clarity, was he a minor at the time of the alleged incident?
Under Michigan law, to raise the age, yes.
So he was 17 last summer?
17 and a half, I believe.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Charged as an adult, yes.